Ever since 207 began, we have made a tradition of talking to the candidates for major office in Maine. The June primary right around the corner. Our guest tonight is Ron Russell. He is running in the 1st Congressional District for the Republican nomination. If he wins, he will face incumbent Democrat Chellie Pingree this fall. Ron, thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here.
For being here. So this is your first time running for major office. You came back to Maine to do just that. What experience do you have that makes you qualified for the job?
I'm from Maine, so that experience in and of itself, I think, is one qualification that voters should look for. I was raised on a farm in Fort Fairfield, Maine, and the son of a potato farmer and a school teacher. I left Fort Fairfield when I was 17 to attend the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York. And I graduated in 1976, commissioned as an infantry officer, like my dad, so second generation. I spent 30 years and 28 days in the United States Army. That experience in and of itself sets me up for success as a representative to the United States Congress. After I retired, I started a small business in North Carolina, and basically I was doing the same thing in that business that I was doing in the military, just a different uniform.
Yeah.
That business, that work as a small business also sets me up for success. 15 years we ran that business. We turned it from a small business into a large business. But I got to see how a government can help a business or how a government can hurt a business with rules and regulations.
And if you are elected, you would be jumping right into some of the major issues that our country is facing right now. One of those major issues, it's been more than 6 months since the mass shootings in Lewiston. We now know that the man who carried out those shootings was experiencing some really severe mental health issues leading up to those events. Do you believe that those individuals with mental illness should have access to firearms?
No, I do not. And the problem is our background check does not have access to databases that show who has the mental illness and should not be allowed to have a firearm. We need to change that.
So are you suggesting allowing certain entities to have access to medical records, or?
Yes, just to mental health records for folks who are experiencing times of crisis. And
some people obviously are not going to be okay with doing something like that. Would you be okay with submitting your mental health records to purchase a gun?
Yes, I would be. There's personal information that is provided to the adjudicators to decide whether or not you can own a gun. I don't have any problem, and I think most law-abiding gun owners don't have a problem with providing that information. The federal government is prohibited from maintaining a database on weapons owners, so that in and of itself should serve as some comfort. We have ways of controlling information that the government has access to, and I think in this day and age, we certainly can control where that information goes, so that only the adjudicators of the people making the decision as to whether or not you should get a weapon have access to that information.
Another issue that would more than likely be on the table is around affordable housing. It's no secret that the cost of living has gone up in the last couple years. New reports are showing that millennials and younger generations may never own a home in their lifetime. I'm just wondering, are there specific steps that Congress can take that would actually address the cost of housing?
That will be a tough nut to crack. I think when the economy does better, I'm hoping that those housing prices will come down and that folks will have more wherewithal to be able to purchase a house. It's almost impossible right here in Maine. My middle daughter is looking at coming to the state of Maine, moving to the state of Maine. And when I'm looking at houses to support her two-person family, I don't know that she can afford to come here. And that's the case for many Mainers here right now. And it's not just young citizens, it's also old citizens who are on a fixed income. They are suffering as well in terms of their purchase power. They really should not move out of the place that they are in right now to go to a new house because they likely won't be able to afford it.
Yeah, in terms of specific steps though, can you think of anything that you would bring to the table in Congress?
I think the first step is to get the economy back on track. Inflation has had a devastating impact, and we are mitigating inflation by increasing interest rates on bank loans, and that largely is why folks can't, why housing is no longer affordable. That needs to get fixed here. So when we get the economy back on track, those interest rates will start coming back to where they were before 4 years ago, to where they were 4 years ago. And that's going to have a huge impact on affordability, I believe.
Let's move on to this issue now, climate change. Maine's coast is particularly vulnerable to the changing climate, especially the 1st District. What is one example of legislation that you would propose to combat that issue?
Climate change is a very, very difficult issue. I don't deny that the climate is changing. There are questions now from many scientists as to what actually is causing that climate change. I think, for example, putting the wind farm out in the Gulf of Maine is not a good idea from a climate change perspective. The reports are that the temperature in the Gulf of Maine has gone up 1.5 degrees in the last 20 years or so. Those wind farms generate heat in and of themselves, and is that going to increase the temperature in the Gulf of Maine? We also have no earthly idea what the impact of those wind farms have on our fisheries. I think we know that it's mostly negative there if we were to look at any of the research that has been done so far. So I think eliminating that wind farm out in the Gulf of Maine is one of the first steps that we can go to helping with that problem.
All right, we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you, Ron Russell, so much for coming into the 207 studio to talk with us. He is running in the 1st Congressional District for the Republican nominee. To learn more information about Ron and his campaign, just head to the 207 section of our website and app. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.